Hey guys, Zap here with another Raid Shadow Legends video. Now, I have seemed to have caused a bit of an uproar on my video yesterday. I have been replying to some of the comments, but I see that maybe my error of my ways, potentially with the way that I was coming across with the Wixwell video. Now, I personally haven't done many Wixwell videos on how to build the teams. I know the teams exist. I know people are returning back to the Infinity comps. And I will be honest, I am glad that a lot of people are being able to find the greater, kind of find progression in Clan Boss, unlock Clan Boss. The main reason why I made that video was purely because I wanted to see this be a bit better for the non-affinity comps, right? I saw a lot of people when this champion first came out basically saying, you know, his shield growth is bugged, it doesn't work, because we didn't understand how it worked. And I wanted to fix that mechanism by basically making this feel like it actually had more value. And actually, when you look at it, potentially it could break the game. Now, there was probably some context that I can see from the comments that are coming out. Look, I'm not beyond criticism. If this is not like what people want to see, then I'm aware of what people want to hear. Look, we'll go through the comments in a moment, but clearly I was missing some factors and some of the context I could have applied to the video. But what I want to just summarize very, very briefly was when I looked at this, I was looking at ways to make this feel a little bit better for the first 10 usages. So in shorter content, because really this shield growth value until you put into like an affinity comp or the Yannicka team is pretty meaningless. It doesn't do anything. It feels really, really weak, right? Because it doesn't really grow it with enough value, enough strength. Let me show you like exactly the comments. Look, I've had the most downvoted video that I've ever had on the channel. And hey, look, I'm not against criticism. I'm not against, you know, feedback from people who are unhappy with my content. So of course, the video that I'm talking about is the worst way to code shield growth. I basically explained how the shield growth mechanisms was working in Wixwell and why potentially it was not really well programmed. Now, maybe the title was a little bit sort of like it kind of stirred the emotions. You can see it's more views than it is right now. The dislike count is quite low. It's probably just, you know, people pretty upset. And I do agree, and I want to make this very clear, that I wasn't actually calling for the nerf, even though I was maybe suggesting a way it could be coded. It may have sounded like I was asking for this to be nerfed. That wasn't the case. I don't think they're going to nerf this because, as many of these comments have pointed out, if they're going to fix Wixwell, then they need to fix Trunda, they need to fix Yumiko, they need to fix all these other problems that we have in the game in terms of like champions that can do extremely crazy stuff, right? I'm not saying that this is the only problem in the game, which I think a lot of people just didn't really see in the video. Probably they looked at it, it was like, well, he's only talking about one thing. What about Trunda? And, you know, it's kind of like a catch-22 where people are basically saying, why would you nerf Wixwell when you're not going to nerf Trunda? And of course, the reason why they won't nerf Trunda is probably because of this reaction here. This exact reaction is why player won't balance Trunda, which is kind of like you're in this like infinite loop cycle, which is you can't nerf Wixwell because you need to nerf Trunda, but you won't nerf Trunda because you'll upset people, which means you can't nerf Wixwell, and we're in this like infinite loop. So maybe it's better we just don't do anything. So I think one of the main things I missed here, which is one of the highest commented up here, which is from Kaluchawekwa. Oh, I cannot say that name, I apologize. At this point, anything that breaks the Demon Lord clan boss shouldn't matter. It's abusing Hydra Clash, that's the problem. And I suppose that's a fair comment. Like, does it matter really if you can easily defeat clan boss? Honestly, I suppose this is more of a personal bias. I really loved achieving clan boss, and I've seen there's a bunch of different comments down here that have really kind of raised the point, well, isn't this just another form of unkillable? And it kind of is, but there is also an art to building your Bat-Eater team, to building your sort of Demitha teams, in the sense that you have 50 turns to actually beat the clan boss. You can't just go in there with no damage. Whereas I think with this Wixwell team, you know, if you've got Geomancer, you can kind of go in with very little effort, a little bit. I still accept that you need to still have a bit of a rotation with the 2-1, but you can pretty much get there pretty comfortably. So I guess, does it really matter? Probably for everyone, no. In the bigger picture of the game, is this a biggest, you know, compared to like issues with progressing through Sand Devil, the issues with the Cursed City of Cintranos, gear loadouts, the problems with high-end arena, the problems with Armands. If we look at all the issues that we know that we talk about on a regular basis, is this something that I would jump on? No, I wouldn't. The reason why I made the video, because it was the stuff that people have been talking about. And also, I thought maybe it was interesting for people to understand how it was working, because if you take the information that I've given you, you can actually optimize your Yannicka team to get to cap quicker, because you can understand how to grow it quicker, if that makes sense. So the quicker you can get to cap, because one of the things we discovered through this is that effectively there is a hard limit to how much the shield can be grown by. So once you hit that hard limit, that's when you want to use the Yannicka ability. There's no point actually doing another 20 turns, because you're just wasting time at that point. You're never going to do more damage. So I suppose I do agree here. You know, I wouldn't change it for the clan boss. In a personal kind of like, when I was playing the game 3-4 years ago, the joy of actually getting the 2-key, the 1-key Ultra Nightmare clan boss was really big. And I suppose I'm thinking back to when I did clan boss 2 to 3 years ago, when it was much more of a challenge because there wasn't that many teams, and kind of remembering, you know, there wasn't much stats either, kind of remembering how fun it was to really push the boundaries, and clan boss is really the big thing to do in the game. I guess now with all the different additions and the stats and everything we've got, maybe it's not. Maybe I'm looking back to something that I remember fondly, and for the average player playing this game, maybe it's not a big issue. Is it abusing Hydra Clash? Honestly, ironically with this comment, I don't think it's abusing Hydra Clash that much, because it's hard capped in the sense that you can't actually grow the shield beyond a certain value. Then Yannicka will always be kind of hard capped, so it's never going to be able to do more damage than a non-traditional team. I don't actually think it's a major problem for Hydra, because the Tog Run one was a bug. It was doing different things. I don't think I've seen a Yannicka team do more than like 5 billion, maybe 10 billion on normal. Is there a problem within Hydra Clash that normal can outdo Nightmare? Then that's a different conversation altogether. But I actually don't think it's that abusive in Hydra Clash at the moment compared to stuff like Trunder, compared to like the non-Trunder teams as well, right? You can easily, I think the current world record is about 5 billion on Nightmare for the non-Trunder teams, especially when you have these mythicals coming in. So, you know, I think the biggest thing I would take away from this comment is maybe I'm just harkening back to how difficult it was for me to do clan boss back in the day, and feeling a little bit like we've lost that kind of joy that we used to have in clan boss, which, you know, you can hold me accountable for being sentimental there. Again, so we see some comments here. If they aren't nerfing Trunder, why should you care about him? They should have learned their lesson with Emic. Absolutely. Very good point. They knew that it was a problem when they nerfed Emic. They nerfed Emic in the test server. They didn't nerf it here, which is why they probably can't nerf it at this point. But a lot of these comments are, you know, I think a lot of them are fair. You know, why are we having this conversation if they're not going to nerf Trunder? I accept where the premise is, but I also want to defend myself a little bit and say, I think I've gone blue in the face for the amount of times I've made a video on trying to fix Trunder, to the point where people have got fed up with me actually making videos about Trunder. I've stopped talking about it, because at this point, what else can I do? I've made multiple different videos. I feel like I've championed the idea of trying to get Trunder fixed. And not because I want to nerf champions, but because I want people to feel like the newer champions that they get are having an impact, that they actually have reasons to get excited about new champions that they earn and they pick up. I feel like if you just have this like extreme outlier of certain champions, then nothing you can get is ever exciting. So it's kind of like the other way. Lethinger, oh no, they summoned Saf the Destroyer of Champions. Yes, Saf the Destroyer of Champions. What can I say? Don't do it. Don't ruin it for me. Honestly, some of these, like, I get it. You nerfed Enfeeble. I didn't actually nerf Enfeeble. They were already talking about that. Player, if you're watching this, all is okay with Wixwell. Don't listen to Saf. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Some of these things I've obviously commented on and replied to. I always try to reply to and read to everyone's comments. You know, some of these I can't really do much with the comments. There are plenty of, just because the whales can't overpower everyone else with them. I will say that people have calling me a whale. I actually don't spend that much on the game, right? I spend a bit. I can buy like maybe $100 a month. Maybe that considers me a whale. It's nowhere near the level of spending that a lot of people have. And obviously as a content creator, a lot of that spend is investment into creating content that you guys would want to have fun watching and enjoy. So it's not exactly a whale. I don't buy things for the sake of buying it. Rarely do I ever buy shards anymore. Rarely do I ever. If I do, it is normally because there's a particular special event going on, but I really do that. We've got some, you know, some pretty cool things. It was a pretty good long post here from Darren, one of my 6-month members. I really appreciate everyone who is a YouTube member on the channel. You know, kind of pointing out some really good points here around, you know, maybe this wasn't a conversation that we needed to have. Maybe I could have framed the conversation more around, hey, understand how it works so you can use it to your benefit instead of trying to frame it around, is it actually the right way to do it? I personally think from a game design point of view, it's not very balanced because you just don't have control over how quickly it can grow. But I can understand how people might feel like this isn't really a conversation that matters. Does it really matter in the big picture? Lots of comments about me trying to make it not fun for free-to-play players and being out of touch with players. I don't really agree with that. It's very difficult sometimes for me to relate to early game, but I don't necessarily think I'm out of touch with the early game challenges. I think that's a bit of a reach. I totally understand many a times where I've been sat here saying, hey, that dust on stage 25, that really should be extended down. The essence should really be extended down. The drop rates should be improved for these things. The amount of rewards that players get should be better. The accessibility of rewards. I feel like I say that enough that I don't really feel like it's fair to say, hey, I'm out of touch, That's a bit of a reach. And again, a lot of the changes I was recommended, I think Joseph was kind of saying the same thing, which was, I'm still advocating that he can still do the infinity comp and those things in the video. That was the point I was making in the video, that he can still do good stuff. It's just going to be more consistent in the way that he does it, and it doesn't have these like extreme edge cases where you can do like 322 million per head, or make Ironclad do 1.3 billion in Clan Boss, for example. And maybe there's always a risk with these things. If you don't find the root cause of these problems, like, are they going to make Yannika's damage worse because they're trying to fix it? Are they going to make the Ironclad mechanic worse because they found one edge case where it kind of breaks the fun? So you always have these risks if you target the end result of these effects. Will the end results be more punishing than just trying to stop the starting point of these things? We love you, man, but please don't get Wixwell nerfed. Okay, look, maybe this video is very much me saying, sorry for making a video maybe I shouldn't have made. We've got some other fun comments here. Saf, the only champ that needs a nerf is Armand's. I don't think I ever said Armand's was balanced. I always thought he was a bit unbalanced when he first came out, but yeah, absolutely fine. Wixwell Shield Growth should not be based on the view. It was 5 quadrillion. I apologize for getting the wrong number. So, plenty of people saying isn't breaking the clan boss. Again, I think a lot of this is down to me having this sentimental feeling that clan boss was a challenge, and maybe, some people pointed out it's all content, you instant complete it now. Has it just become a bit of a, as someone has said in the main raid Discord, a loot pinata? I feel like it has since the instant clan boss. It was one of my fears. One of the things I'm worried about is, is this sort of stuff like from Brute. I was so sad to see the Ironclad team, my Toshiro's team's personal best was 1.2 billion on Ultra Nightmare. Ironclad blew it out the water. So that is one of the things I do think is a bit of a concern, where you have like mythical champions that look really cool and exciting, and then the rare comes along because of some unexpected way that something works and just kind of blows it out the water. Whilst it's fun to make Ironclad do 1.2, 1.3 billion, it's also not great to have this like super rare champion that's very difficult to get come and absolutely not match what a rare champion can do, which is probably why in the past we've had things like Madman and Corpulent Cadaver nerfs, even if we think like some of those nerfs were unnecessary or not really done correctly. I don't think the Corpulent Cadaver nerf was ever done correctly. I felt it was too aggressive, and we never needed the Madman nerf. The Madman was absolutely fine. If you're not going to nerf Trunder, you don't touch Madman, in my opinion. It was getting nowhere near any big teams. Some people seem to understand what I was trying to say, but again, a lot of these comments, I think, really harken back to a lot of people saying, this unlocked clan boss for me, don't hurt my clan boss progression. Do you know what? Fair enough. I got it wrong on that one, and I'm the first to admit when I got something wrong. Clearly, I was a little bit disconnected with how much people were really enjoying these Affinity clan boss teams. Do I still think like the way it's programmed is good? I think potentially down the road we could have more issues around these exponential growth mechanics, right? It's the fundamentals of having something grow exponentially or grow off a multiplier that I think if you don't have safeguards to basically cap it or restrict how much it can grow by, it quickly gets out of control. We had someone here saying kill the Anakin Ironclad issues. It's kind of like what I was saying before. It's like, is the punishment for 2 champions worth the adjustment for the 1 champion? Hard to say, really, with these sorts of things. And yeah, this is why they need a test server. I would love to have had a test server. I would have picked this up on the test server straight away. I don't have access to the test server. So all the people in comments going, well, you should have checked this in the test server. CC shouldn't have hyped this up and all this. I didn't hype him up. In my defense, I always said, there's always a risk when you do fusions that have unique mechanics like the intercept buff, that if you don't take that champion, you don't do the fusion, then you might miss out in future. But I never ever advocated that that Wixwell was so crazy that he was, you know, not like I said with like people like Emic, where I was pretty like, you must go for Emic. He's so cool. He's so good at what he does. I don't think I advocated that hard for Wixwell. I thought he was a very good all-round champion, really good for progression in different places. I didn't realize how crazy his shield growth was, because at the time I'd only seen videos from content creators on the test server testing it once. I hadn't seen like the Bronco breaking the clan boss at that point. We didn't get that until kind of the fusion already started, right? So had I had the test server, had I had access to these things, I absolutely would have figured this out quicker. I did like this comment from UberXX here. I put a thumbs up. I mean, if they nerf it, they nerf it. I won't be happy. It's a cheesy way to do clan boss. But you put a big amount of effort into this video. Kudos. But I am a bit curious on the thumbs down meter. Is it? It's at 950 views. The thumbs down meter is quite low. It is. It's not too bad though, to be fair. I think people are kind of. It's a 50-50. I've split the community on this one, and I can understand why I have split the community. So look, I'm not going to go through all the comments. I think, you know, you've made your opinions clear, but this is a good opportunity for me to showcase that, you know what, I listen to what you say. I do care about what my community says, and I do try to engender positive change in the game so we can all have fun with the game. I get that some people might think sometimes all I want to do is nerf champions. Absolutely not the case. I just want to get back to a period of time where it felt good to push your 100 million Hydra team to 200 million, or it felt good to push your 500 million Nightmare Clan Hydra team all the way up to like 600 million, and that change had a visible impact to your rewards and your outcome. That's kind of like what my goal is, and what I feel like we should be at, that these really like min-maxed, extremely well-built teams should actually feel like they're worth pushing, rather than at the moment, which is like, well, I can build a 700 million Nightmare Clan Boss team, and then a standard trender can basically do 1.2 billion on normal. It just makes it feel really poor to like put effort in. And I think that's what a lot of, for me personally, that's what my goal would want to have, where we go back to this situation where it means something to push those numbers. It means something to really push really high numbers. And I guess that is where I have been personally feeling at the moment we're struggling with in Raid. But I get it. I get the clan boss here is not content anymore that you need to struggle with. And Wixwell makes it easier for people to progress, and unlocking those unlocks the rewards, which unlocks the rest of the game. And if that makes your gameplay experience more fun and helps you, then that's a positive thing. And that is where I didn't get it. And that is probably a good place to leave the video. As always, thank you for all of your comments. I actually have never had such a highly commented video, even with all the upvotes and downvotes. You know, I've never had such a highly commented video. There's 3 ways you can look at it on all these different things. There's plenty of different opinions, but I welcome everyone's opinions. And as I said, I didn't get the importance of clan boss, so I hold my hands up and say, let's just keep it as it is. If everyone is happy with it, let's just keep it as it is, and we'll go from there. But thanks for watching, guys, and as always, leave your comments below, or, you know, maybe not if you're going to hate me even further, and I'll catch you in the next video.